The observation deck of Station Kepler 7 provided a view that most species found overwhelming. Stars stretched across the void in impossible numbers. They're light years old by the time it reached the transparent aluminum panels. Lieutenant Marcus Webb stood there every night cycle, coffee in hand, watching the universe turn. He was the only human on a station populated by 73 different species. That made him something of a curiosity, though most had grown accustomed to his presence over the past 2 years. Humans were still new to the galactic community, their admission controversial, their reputation preceding them in uncomfortable ways. The Galactic Council had debated for months before allowing humanity a seat. Too aggressive, some said. Too unpredictable. Their history was soaked in conflict, their evolution carved by competition and survival. But they had passed the technological threshold, demonstrated faster-than-light capability, and couldn't be ignored forever. Marcus didn't think about politics much. He was an engineer, assigned to maintain the station's atmospheric systems. Simple work, honest work. He kept to himself, did his job, and tried not to cause trouble. That evening, he noticed her immediately. The Velen female was collapsed against the corridor wall, just outside the observation deck. Her skin, normally a pale blue, had taken on a gray pallor. One of her 3-fingered hands clutched at her throat, where her breathing apparatus sat askew. Marcus moved quickly. He'd studied xenobiology as part of his station orientation. Velens needed a specific nitrogen-oxygen mix that human standard atmosphere couldn't provide. Her respirator was malfunctioning, the indicator lights flickering red. He knelt beside her. "Hold on. I'm going to help." Her large, dark eyes fixed on him. Recognition flickered there, along with something else. Fear. "Human," she whispered, the word barely audible through her failing equipment. Marcus reached for the respirator, his fingers finding the emergency release. But she grabbed his wrist, stopping him. "Please," she managed, her voice distorted by the damaged unit. "Don't hurt me." The word struck him like a physical blow. He froze, hands suspended inches from the device that was slowly suffocating her. Marcus had heard the stories. Every human in the galactic community had. The warnings passed in hushed tones through alien social networks, the cautionary tales shared in non-human spaces. Humans were dangerous. Humans were violent. Their nervous systems operated at twice the speed of most species. Their reaction times were devastating. Their capacity for aggression was evolutionary, earned into their DNA by a homeworld that had tried to kill them for millions of years. He'd overheard conversations in the station cafeteria, species discussing humans the way one might discuss a tame predator. Useful, perhaps. Interesting, certainly. But never truly safe. Now this Velen woman, dying in front of him, was more afraid of him than of suffocation. Marcus made his choice. He pulled his hand back slowly, holding it up where she could see it. Then he removed his station jacket, folding it carefully and setting it aside. Next came his utility belt with its tools. He placed everything in a neat pile, each movement deliberate and non-threatening. "My name is Marcus," he said softly. "I'm an atmospheric systems engineer. That means I work with life support equipment every day. Your respirator has a damaged pressure seal. The nitrogen mixture is leaking. If we don't fix it in the next 3 minutes, you're going to lose consciousness." She stared at him, her breathing becoming more labored. "I need you to trust me," Marcus continued. "Just for 3 minutes. Then you can go back to being afraid of me if you want." Her hand trembled where it clutched her throat. Her eyes were growing unfocused. "Please," he said. Something shifted in her expression. Perhaps it was the desperation in his voice, or perhaps it was simply the lack of options. Her hand fell away. Marcus moved with practiced efficiency. He released the malfunctioning respirator, supporting her head as it came free. The Velen gasped, her body convulsing as she tried to breathe station air that her lungs couldn't process. 2 minutes. His fingers found the damaged seal, a hairline fracture in the pressure chamber. He pulled a universal repair patch from his emergency kit, one of dozens he carried for exactly this kind of situation. The adhesive activated on contact, sealing the breach. 1 minute. He checked the nitrogen cartridge, found it intact, and reset the flow regulator. The indicator light cycled from red to amber. 30 seconds. Marcus fitted the respirator back onto her face, adjusting the seals with the gentle precision he used on delicate equipment. The lights turned green. She inhaled deeply, the sound ragged but strengthening with each breath. Color began returning to her skin. Marcus sat back on his heels, letting out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. They stayed like that for several moments, her breathing gradually steadying, him watching to ensure the repair held. "Thank you," she finally said, her voice clear now through the functioning equipment. Marcus nodded. "You should get to medical. Have them do a full check. That repair will hold, but you'll want a replacement unit." She looked at him differently now. The fear was still there. He could see it, but something else had joined it. Confusion, perhaps. Or consideration. "Why did you take off your equipment?" she asked. Marcus picked up his jacket, brushing off imaginary dust. "You were scared. I thought if I made myself less threatening, you might let me help, but I was dying. You were." He met her eyes. "But forced help isn't really help, is it? That's just violence wearing a helpful mask." The Velen was silent for a long moment. "My name is Kella," she said. "I'm a xenosociologist. I study cultural integration patterns." Ironic. A sound came from her respirator that might have been a laugh. "Yes, very." She stood, still slightly unsteady. "I've been researching human behavior for 6 months. Reading reports, analyzing incident data, conducting interviews. Do you know what conclusion I reached?" Marcus stood as well, giving her space. "That we're dangerous?" "That you're terrifying," she corrected. "Your species has aggression metrics that exceed almost every predator race in the known galaxy. Your historical records are chronicles of warfare. Your sports often involve controlled combat. Your children's stories feature monsters and violence as entertainment." "All true," Marcus acknowledged. "But tonight you made yourself vulnerable to save someone who feared you." Kella tilted her head, a Velen gesture of curiosity. "Why?" Marcus considered the question as he gathered his equipment. "Because I could. Because it was the right thing to do. Because maybe the reason humans survived all that violence wasn't because we were good at it, but because we were good at choosing when not to use it. That's not what the data suggests. Data doesn't show you the choices people don't make," Marcus said. "It only shows you the ones they do. Yeah, humans fought wars. We also had millions of soldiers who came home and never fought again. We had entire cultures that chose peace when they could have chosen conquest. We had people who spent their lives healing instead of hurting." He paused, looking out at the stars. "My grandfather fought in the last war on Earth. He saw terrible things, did terrible things. After it ended, he spent 40 years as a teacher. He said that violence was easy. It was peace that took courage." Kella was quiet, processing this. "The Council debates human nature constantly. Whether your species should be allowed greater integration, given more responsibility. I know. They're afraid of what humans might do." "I know that too," Marcus said. "And I understand it. Fear of humans isn't irrational. We are dangerous. Our history proves it. But fear of what we might do shouldn't overshadow what we're actually doing." He gestured around the station. "I've been here 2 years. In that time, I've fixed life support systems, helped coordinate emergency responses, and taught 3 different species how to maintain atmospheric regulators. That's what I've done with my dangerous human capabilities. Kella's respirator hummed softly as she breathed. I'm writing a report for the Council about human integration patterns. I'm sure it's very thorough. It was, she said, but I think I need to revise my conclusions. She looked at him directly. Would you be willing to speak with me? For my research? I want to understand how humans make the choices they make. Marcus smiled. Sure, but fair warning, I'm probably going to be pretty boring. I mostly just fix air systems and drink coffee. I think, Kella said slowly, that might be exactly the point. She left for medical soon after, promising to contact him once she was cleared. Marcus returned to the observation deck, his coffee long cold. He thought about fear and trust, about choices made in critical moments. He thought about his grandfather, who had chosen peace. He thought about humanity, carrying the weight of its violent past into an uncertain future. The stars watched, silent and eternal, as they always had. In the end, Marcus supposed, that was the real test. Not whether humans could be violent. Everyone knew they could. The test was whether they could be trusted to choose otherwise. Whether they could look at someone who feared them and make themselves vulnerable instead. One person at a time. One choice at a time. He finished his cold coffee and went back to work. Just another engineer, keeping the air flowing on a station full of people trying to live together. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't historic. But it was enough.